My friend Jason, 28 mem, narrowly escaped a fire. Here's how it changed his life forever. Jason had always been a creature of habit. He worked as a mechanic at a small garage in the heart of the city, spent his weekends tinkering with old engines, and lived in a modest 2-story house at the edge of town. Life was simple, predictable. But that was before the fire. It started late one Thursday evening. Jason had been in the garage working on an old truck that had seen better days. The smell of gasoline and engine oil was thick in the air as he wiped his hands on a rag. He was just about to call it a day when he heard the faint crackling sound. At first he dismissed it, thinking it was just the hum of an old heater, but then the air seemed to grow warmer. He stepped outside and froze. The sky was painted in hues of orange and red, and thick black smoke billowed from the direction of his home. Jason's heart skipped a beat as he realized what was happening. His house was on fire. Panic set in as he sprinted toward the front yard, but he quickly realized the fire had spread too fast. Flames licked at the edges of his porch, and the roar of the fire drowned out all other sound. His mind raced. His parents' old photo albums, the guitar his late brother had gifted him, his beloved dog, everything was inside. Everything was at risk. Without a second thought, he ran toward the back of the house, hoping the fire hadn't yet reached that side. As he neared the back door, the heat intensified, and the air became almost unbearable. His breath came in short, desperate gasps. But in the haze of smoke and panic, he heard something. Faint whimpering. His dog, Max. Jason's heart lurched. He couldn't leave him behind. He charged into the smoke-filled kitchen, trying to navigate the growing inferno. He could barely see, but he felt his way toward the living room where he'd last seen Max. The dog's cries grew louder, but the smoke was suffocating now, choking him with each breath. His lungs burned as the heat grew unbearable. Then, through the haze, he saw Max, his loyal companion, cowering under the couch. Jason reached for him, pulling Max into his arms. The dog whimpered, but didn't resist. And with no time to waste, Jason ran toward the back door, only to be met with an overwhelming wall of flames. He turned to find another way out, but the fire had engulfed the house on all sides. His eyes blurred from the smoke. His body screamed for air, for safety. He stumbled toward a small window and, in a blur of panic and adrenaline, smashed it open with his fist. The shards of glass cut into his skin, but he didn't care. His only goal was survival. With one last burst of strength, he hoisted himself through the window, the heat of the fire at his back pushing him forward. Max was still in his arms, trembling but alive. Jason hit the ground hard, but he didn't stop. He rolled to his feet, still gasping for air, and ran toward the street. By the time the fire trucks arrived, the house was nothing but a smoldering shell. Jason stood weak and covered in ash, Max at his side. He couldn't believe it. He had made it out. He had lost everything, but he had survived. In the days that followed, Jason's life was a whirlwind of insurance claims and endless calls. The house was gone, his belongings reduced to ash, but Max was still by his side. His faithful dog had saved him, just as Jason had tried to save him. As time passed, the pain of the fire lingered, but Jason found strength in the simplest things. A cup of coffee on a quiet morning, the sound of Max's bark, the cool air on a walk. He had lost so much, but in that moment, he realized he had gained something far more important: survival, and the strength to rebuild, no matter what had been lost.